Hi everyone. When it comes to climate change, there are a number of secondary contributors that we often don't hear too much about that help to worsen the effects or hasten the effects of climate change. Typically, we hear about the main factor being the average overall global increase of carbon dioxide concentration in the upper atmosphere. And certainly this is the prime driver, prime mechanism that the Earth is getting warmer. As you get the layers of increased carbon dioxide up in the upper atmosphere, it works like a greenhouse to heat the land below. But another set of factors play largely into the impacts of climate change and how fast climate change is happening. This includes habitat loss, habitat conversion, habitat fragmentation. When we lose greenery like this and replace it with subdivisions or parking lots or big box stores, we lose the ability of this land to moderate the temperature, the moisture in the soil, wind effects. All those things that are moderated by forests and natural greenery are lost. You know how it is on a hot day. You go out like today in the sun and you touch your car and it burns your hand. Touch any of this greenery and you don't get any sensation of heat whatsoever. It's all cool to the touch. Obviously it's not the same material as metal, but natural greenery has the ability to moderate temperature and moisture levels on the landscape. Marshes and swamps and wetlands of all types hold soil moisture and moderate the impacts of storms on the landscape level. So what we want to do as much as we can is maintain as much greenery on the landscape as possible. The fact that we're converting more and more landscape every year to artificial human created structures, that increases the ability of climate change to take hold faster. For example, where would you rather be on a hot sunny day when it's 95 degrees, if you had a choice, out on the golf course playing golf or in a shaded woodlot? Now obviously if you're a golf fanatic, you'd probably say out on the golf course, but you're going to be a lot hotter out there in the blazing sun than you are in a shaded environment such as what I'm in here, semi-shaded anyhow. The ability for natural landscapes to maintain average lower temperatures, moderate the temperatures in the summer to keep them cooler, in the winter to keep them slightly warmer. These are the things that natural landscapes, the benefits they provide. The more and more sterile our environment becomes through habitat loss, the greater the impacts of climate change will be and the faster they will occur. So I think from our perspective, if we want to help on the local scale as much as possible, we want to work with groups or individuals in our towns and cities to help green the landscape up as much as possible. That will be our biggest, I think, our biggest weapon to try and combat climate change now. Because when you think about it, there's not a whole lot else that can be done that will contribute so many benefits. Yes, if you convert to solar power, you may be creating semi-clean energy, but first of all those solar cells had to be created in a factory using natural resources. And when the solar cells are out on the landscape, many times they cover acres and acres of land. They've replaced natural greenery with flat solar panels that will just get hot, re-emit their heat to the surrounding air, just like a parking lot or a parked car does. So thousands of acres of solar farms, even though they have benefits, obviously, they're also in some ways driving climate change because they've replaced, or they've prevented the replacement of greenery on the lands they're erected on. So it's a real tricky one to come to grips with, but I really think that working to green up the local landscape as fast as we can will play the most major roles that most individuals can take part in. When you think about all the number of cars out there sitting in parking lots, sitting in driveways, sitting in acres of car sales lots, as well as all the homes and businesses on the earth with metal roofs and things like that, all those things are taking up huge amounts of solar energy and then pretty well emitting it back into the atmosphere as fast as they can take it up. And this creates very wild transitions of temperature at the local level. So on a hot day in the summer, a parking lot, for example, if you were able to take a temperature reading, you'd see extreme heat coming off the parking lot. And then into the night even, it would be emanating heat. Whereas if that was forest, the forest would be a much more moderate temperature overall. There wouldn't be a huge offletting of heat in the daytime, and there wouldn't be a huge offletting of heat at night. It would just tend to hold the whole temperature regime within itself at a much more moderate level. Same holds true for moisture in the soil in natural landscapes. The moisture is held in the soil through effects of shade, tree roots, soil organisms, organic matter in the soil. When you strip all that away, the soils no longer have the ability to maintain moisture like they once did, and so our soils become more and more like a desert. And this is the whole process of what's known as desertification, the transformation of a landscape that was once sort of moisture mesic or moderately moist in the soil to an area now that might be very arid. That's what we face with climate change, I think. Here, for example, this summer, we've hardly had any, or this spring, we're not even into summer. I keep forgetting that because it seems so much like summer, how dry it is. We've had 1 inch of rain in the last 6 weeks, I think, which is quite unusual compared to the typical springs we used to get, where you would have, like the old saying goes, April showers bring May flowers. But seems like more and more these years we're not getting much in the way of April showers. Most of the rains that do come, or that do head our way, seem to go south of us or north of us. I just wanted to talk about that because we hear a lot about the main driving force, upper atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration, but you don't hear a lot about in the general news the other impacts that are playing into climate change, like habitat loss, habitat alteration, habitat fragmentation, and I'm talking about natural habitats here. Every time we lose an acre of natural habitat, that plays into climate change. And again, you just have to look at smaller examples to know that that's true. Sit out on your lawn on a hot day, you might burn up. Go into the forest, you're fine. It might be 10 or 15 degrees cooler in there and nice and shady. So you can use local examples to test your beliefs in climate change. Anyhow, I hope you found that thought-provoking, and feel free to comment. Thank you.